Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to tell you that it is time for daily number 603 on the 4th of July 2013. Oh, yes, freedom, America, birds and eagles, and all that sort of good stuff. And I'd like to once again say thank you for coming and visiting my room. It's wonderful to be back home in my room. Green screens are really fun, but this is good because it means I can take the daily absolutely anywhere now if I just get a good enough rig that is mobile. I could do it from Air Force One if I wanted to, because Barack Obama would totally invite me on his plane because of the show I do. Let's talk about today's topic. In today's daily, we're going to watch First from Team LGIM crush fantasy with absolutely stupendous, amazing bejugular and ballertastic play. Oh, there we go. Sorry, one of my settings went awry, and we all know what happens when settings go awry. Anyways, everything's okay now. We're going to watch some great PvT games between First and Fantasy. Before that, a couple announcements. Tomorrow, I'm going to be playing The Last of Us, hopefully just to completion, just until it's done. The second one is that I realized I completely forgot to say a Fun Day Monday topic because I knew that I wasn't going to be at Fun Day Monday thanks to MLG. So I think I'll just do something fun on Monday. I don't know what it is yet, but on that day I'll also announce the following Fun Day Monday topic. I don't know, maybe 2v2s with JP where we do something stupid. Either way, I'm excited. Also, I hope you're blowing things up today. Cool, let's go ahead and talk about Protoss versus Terran. Let's also talk about the fact that the air conditioning is broken here. And it's 100 degrees. So if you see a little bit of sweating, don't worry, even the green screen can't cut that out. I want to talk about Protoss vs. Terran and First and why he's awesome. For one, we're going to see Hellbat drops in both of today's games, and we're going to see how First just easily deflects them without much problem. Then we're going to see how First uses two completely different mid-game compositions to stay alive and stay stable. In both the games, we will see the same theme, which is that there's going to be a lot of defense from First, a lot of sitting back and letting the Terran come to him. If you hear that jingling, that's because there's a cat playing with a toy. Any of you hear it? It's not birds where I am right now, but there are cats. Oh, Edgar, he's such a cute cat. I was actually just like looking under the green screen. That's so good. Anyways, I'm getting totally distracted. I love this screen, even though it's like goofy as hell. Oh, love it. What are we talking about? Oh yes, the big theme today. Of course, he's going to hold off Hellbat drops. He's going to use two different compositions, but the big theme is pretty simple. First is going to let the Terran army come to him so he can do lots of counterattacks with pylons and warp prisms. And if Terran decides, oh, well, I'm not going to move out and attack you, then First is going to begin taking some initiative, and he's going to also be expanding at the same time. We're going to see the same theme. Terran, if you're attacking me, I'm going to counterattack and defend. And Terran, if you're not attacking, I'm going to attack you. And continue to do these sorts of things. Just a lot of repositioning we'll see beautifully all game long. So let's go ahead and hop into the game and check it out. In the top right hand corner we have LGIM's First. The map is going to be Whirlwind, and in the bottom right we have Fantasy. The Korean players are getting so good that they're starting to really branch hard even in the opening, doing really clever things. So we're going to be just noting what this build is, some of the nice timingnesses of it. And one thing that I want to just briefly note is that First is going to do a build that looks very vulnerable to a fast Reaper. Now, if you think that a build, like what we're going to see, is vulnerable to a fast Reaper, it's not that it's true or false, it's that it's based on the timing. And if you don't know exactly when Reapers show up, then the statement, Reapers will kill that, is useless. And actually, oh my god, I want to spend a little time on that point. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the damn thing. People make statements all the time in StarCraft. and they think they're being very clever. But what they're actually doing is just going, and you never want to be one of those people who just has like thought diarrhea and just falls out of their face. You don't want to do that. For instance, the statement, oh, this build is going to be really weak versus Reapers, or dude, does that build hold off Reapers? Those aren't statements, those aren't questions. You need to say something like, okay, well, the Reaper on this map will show up at, I don't know, 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And you're not going to have your Stalker till 4:40. Don't you take too much damage in that 25-second period? That's a question! Yeah, that's a real question. Or making the statement, oh, that build sucks versus Reaper. You want to say something like, oh, that build sucks. You can't get any range defense against the Reaper for 30 seconds. Now you're asking real questions. Timings are super important with all opening stage things. Coming back. So, for instance, what First is going to do is he's going to go gateway to the worst possible direction. So he's maximally wounded his own economy while minimizing the amount of damage. And look at that. He just goes gateway. He even gets a pylon. He chrono boosts. Does he get a zealot? No! Throws down a nexus at 3 minutes. Nice, juicy early nexus. Then he gets a gas at 18. And before building a probe, he goes ahead and he gets a core on 18. For any of you who missed those numbers, this is a pretty normal pylon 9, gateway 13, pylon 16. And then 18 nexus, 18, oops, assimilator, 18 cybernetics core, 18, 18, 18, 18, 18. This is a really cool little adjustment. See this prober here? First just sends them to mine, back and forth, just to make sure that there's nothing being constructed. And because First sees absolutely nothing, he has no information. He has to get this early zealot. If a Reaper is coming, well, rat butts. But if, you know, we have no idea, we can't just cancel this. Notice that we can almost cancel it. We can almost get the needed information, but we just cannot quite. So following this up, instant chrono boost on the Stalker, which makes sense. This is around the time that Reapers actually do show up. So great. First just gets his double gas up, and we have, by all measure, a normal looking base from First. Now, you heard me state that theoretical question. We're just talking about openings. We're not talking about like the broad implications, the mid and late game, or any of that sort of shenanigans. Just the opening. We need to know timings. We need to all our timings really good. Otherwise, we can't ask questions. We're just going to go. So here's a very reasonable question. Well, this build, it seems like it's going to be super vulnerable if my opponent, I don't know, goes for something like ultra fast Widow Mine drop. That's not useful. We need to go ahead and get some data. And for this data, I introduce to you Fantasy. Fantasy is going for ultra-fast Widow Mine drop. He goes gas first and then barracks to get his factory out as fast as humanly possible. By times 8ing the speed, we're going to see that, okay, well, a factory should start at 3 minutes with ultra-fast mines. And because pretty much all buildings in StarCraft take 1 minute to build, I know that the starport's going to be going down at 4 minutes, which means it'll be finishing at 5 minutes. And if that's true, then I should probably be getting hit at 6 minutes. And indeed... Boom, boom. And indeed, 6 minutes is the information that we have learned. Okay, perfect. So, what did we just do? We looked at some of the basics of this opening build. We asked questions like, well, what about a Reaper? How do you hold off a Reaper? We noted that that isn't a question because we need to know what the timings are for it to be relevant. And here we have a very relevant question. What about ultra-fast Widow Mine drops? Because it's going to get there at 6 minutes, and it doesn't really seem like we have much of anything. Let's take a look at how First deals with this. We're also going to come back to Fantasy's opening because he's going to transition from this into Hellbat drops like an asshole. So, coming back in. Oh, the sun sets pretty rapidly right now. I have to redo that lighting. So we see one stalker, one zealot comes up right away. Zealot begins to move out. Mothership core winds up being our final prerogative in all of this. Mothership core actually comes up pretty late. Most of the chrono boosts are on the probers. And there's that mothership core. So gosh, how on earth does he deal with that? Well, this mothership core is going to go ahead and get the scout timing. Notice that all the things it first does, where he's moving out with the stalker and the zealot, he's getting a lot of scout range all along here. And actually I'm going to do it like this, so that way we can see it all pretty in red on Das Minimap. And we also note that first actually didn't do the traditional sentry transition. Goes straight on in for double stalker with this opening. Robo down at 6 minutes, what we would traditionally describe as a late robotics facility. And although this is annoying, just a single detonation there. What if he had researched a second mine? Well, we can see pretty clearly that we are going to have enough units to deal with the marine portion of things. Just the zealot and the two stalkers. We didn't even actually have the mothership core in there. These Hellions that make us go on the run. One thing that you'll see a lot of pros are really good at is just moving their probes out of the way and letting the Widow Mine kill one thing and pulling off. Widow Mines do a ton of damage if you have bad control, but if you have good control, Widow Mines don't really do that much damage. Widow Mines, again, I'd like to note, have a 40-second cooldown. So when you send the probe in and it goes and detonates, just look at the time and add 40 to that. And I know doing small math is a pain in the ass, but that's fine. You can add 40 to things. So in this sort of seemingly uncomfortable position, it's very easy to say, oh my gosh, first just took massive damage. But he didn't lose a huge number of probes. 7 looks like a lot, but he's still going to be ahead of his opponent, who in fact does not even have a command center done. And this is going to be Chrono Boost 2 at a time. What have I done? I've looked at all these different damages that were done, looked at some timings and possibilities, and now we have a simple answer to our simple question. What happens if that 6-minute ultra-fast Widow Mine drop happens? The answer is that because we have these two stalkers, and because we went robo, we're probably going to take some damage. But we have so many probes, such a big probe lead, and we have the early chrono boost from our 3-minute nexus, we can easily take 7 or 8 probes of a loss and be fine. I don't know what just fell, but something fell. Hey, Edgar, 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 come here. Come here, Edgar. Come here, Edgar. Come here, yes, come here. Come here, literally. No, God, what cat doesn't answer to his own name? Edgar, I want to come here, Sabin. Come here, yes, I'm gonna get a cat soon. Everything's gonna be fine, Sab. Okay, whatever. All right, whatever, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So this is the typical advantage from that most early expand Protoss builds will yield. That they deal with most aggression by just having so many probes it doesn't matter. The more aggressive the opening, the farther behind Fantasy is going to be. Also, let me just ask a simple question as well. What about 7-minute timings? That would be a conservative mine drop timing. Well, we see that there would be 3 stalkers that would be available, because, you know, warp gate's almost done. And at 7 minutes, our mothership core has enough energy for an overcharge. So as we examine the follow-up aggression, we can see that there's some nice gains that First will obtain out of this. He literally just leaves the mothership core in his main base and puts all the rest of the stalkers down in the other base. Widow Mine with a single kill until okay, he gets it. Now the thing that sort of interested me about this position is that First goes Forge Twilight Council. He's going to transition into a pretty typical looking zealot with speed and +1 weapons, weapons. However, Chrono Boost pretty much only on the Nexuses. There's the ground armor. A lot of times players will want to get charge immediately, but we see that there's a gas shortage. Why the gas shortage? Because these two geysers have only just completed thanks to our aggression. But this is a pretty common looking thing that players will do. One Forge and one Twilight Council at the same time. However, we see a marked lack of gateways. That's fine. This is the moment in time when First is doing that. The rest of the time, he's just doing chronoing on probes. All the gateway units down here. Photon overcharge in the main base, and safe. And look at the conservativeness of First, just adding on the cannons. Slowly adding on the gateways, and will soon enough build charge. And continually getting observers as well. Here's one observer floating outside the front. Here's the other one floating outside this drop region. This other one is going to be floating outside another drop region. Just really good, safe, stable, steady play. Lots of probes being built, up to a little over 44. So it's a nice, comfortable opening. The most general goal for First is to early expand and then try to get these two structures up AFAP, where AFAP stands for as fast as possible. So here is where things begin to get really interesting. So Fantasy wants to come in here. Well, we aren't going for something like Sentry-like in defense. Rather, we are going for this excellent Stalker-focused defense, which can shut down them Hellbats relatively easily, chronoing on all these things. Let's speed it on up till we get to that interesting phase of the mid-game. Mothership Core just chills in the main base, and 3 additional workers lost in the midst of all that. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. So here is a moment that immediately starts to tickle my fancy. Warp Prism and Dark Shrine. Zealot legs are coming up as a precautionary defense against a bunch of Marines suddenly surprise swarming up. Unlikely, given that we've been up against a lot of aggression. But with everything that First has seen, he sees this command center, he's seen a bunch of drops in the main, there's not going to be that many barracks units. And, I mean, there's really 3 things that you can be doing. You can be doing a whole bunch of cute techie attacking. Or I should say, you can be doing tech-focused stuff, which would be upgrades, Hellbat drops, mine drops. You can be building infrastructure for units, so like a whole bunch of barracks and that sort of thing. Or you can be focusing on economy, like expanding. So we've seen a lot of techie stuff from Fantasy. We now see a 3rd command center from Fantasy. He can't really have a huge army. The more things he does that isn't just building up a big army, the smaller his army will be. And that sounds totally obvious, but it is a oft-forgotten fact. If you hold off an attack, internally, emotionally, what the chemicals in your body do is they go, ah, just build more defense because we just attacked. So, we see First being smart and going, oh, okay, I just held off a whole bunch of medevac drops, 3 to be exact, so I'm going to be expanding. No power units, no Templar Storm. Extra gateways, but not building anything out of it. No Immortals, no Colossus, no nada. And this will allow us to see First step into the realm of awesomeness that is known as the mid-game. Now, in general, DT drops, or Dark Templar, are solid. Even if they whiff and don't get into this main base area and deal a bunch of damage, it's a solid thing to do, because there's really not that much that these small packs of units can do about it. Sure, they can scan and pick it off, but if you have another DT or 2, they'll have to run back. They'll have to hold on to scans. So here is the start of the theme that we see out of First. Look at this observer placement, 1 outside the front, 1 along a secondary attack path, 1 along a 3rd attack path. We actually see 3 observers out. Very often players will build 1 and just chill. Nope, going for 3 immediately. We see that First has these units positioned here. We see that this Warp Prism is going to be spotting if anything moves out here. The Mothership Core still chilling, kind of back towards the main base. But defensively focused, defensively minded. And for the very first time, Fantasy is actually moving out with most of his ground army. And this is what will make these counterattack drops so potent. Just for the record, if you start a Warp Prism and a Dark Shrine at the same time, you should get to his base right as the Dark Shrine finishes. That's just a nice timing. Start DT Shrine and War Prism at the same moment. Doesn't actually warp in a DT. It gets picked off before then. But that's fine. We're already seeing some damage get dealt, and the very defensive force, we see these two DTs getting morphed in. Really nice, simple structure. Just building Immortals non-stop. Now, what I will note is that the Immortals are to deal with the Marauder Hellbat composition because Immortals work really well with Sentries. Sentries work really, really well splitting up the Marauder Hellbat force. So, at this point in time, this is the moment where I think most Protosses would be sort of like, ow, crap. Well, time to sit on my butt for the rest of the game. Because this Terran is about to be super aggressive. And indeed, Fantasy is going to be really aggressive, so I will tease you right now and say that in Part 2 we're going to see, first, start dealing massive damage to Fantasy. The more attacking Fantasy does, the more damage First will deal with counters. So, stay tuned, because when we come back, more shenanigans. Yeah. Oh, deck green screen. Yeah. On a break.